Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and in collaboration with the Bond Group over in Waltham, Massachusetts, it's a Speedster kind of day. And the last time you saw a Speedster on the channel, it looked a lot like this actually. This is a 356A, as was the previous one, but the previous one was a completely original car. That car had not been restored. It had been resprayed one time back in the 1960s, and other than a replacement fuel tank, that car was 100% original. This car has been restored. This is what you would typically see, and it's been restored very well. I just took this out for a short little blast, and it drives like a dream. Let's start it up first. The beauty of a Speedster too is that yes, you do have a soft convertible top in the back. We've got this nice tonneau cover thing here, but you know, the idea is to just have it out in the beautiful open air. And these bathtub Porsches, as we used to call them before I really appreciated them, that's what they do really well, and they're so much fun to drive. So to start up these Speedsters, first, we've got our key, no big surprise, but we've got a choke here, and the choke is great because it didn't just pull straight out or back in. It actually has a little keyway through it. So if you don't need all of the choke, you can pull it out just a little bit, turn it to the right, and it'll hold its position. Then we give a little touch to the throttle, make sure we've got a neutral. And she fires to life. Inside, these are really open, and you know, you can, there's no center console or anything, so it does feel pretty free, even though it's not a giant space. But I want to show you behind this cover because it is a pretty engine. We've got the Porsche 1600 Super badging on it, but it's a pretty thing. I know a lot of people like to make fun of these and just say, oh, it's just a Beetle. I mean, I don't know. It's a pretty cool Beetle if it's a Beetle. And under the front, you actually have decent storage space. So let's take a look there. And we've got a full-size spare ready to go, and our fuel tank. That's always a little cumbersome to try to get fuel in these things without touching the fenders, but you can kind of go in through the front. Not so bad. Dump this e-brake. Nice long throw into first. The shift throws on these cars are like laughably long, but it makes the driving experience so engaging and fun. And I love the steering wheel as well because it's kind of plasticky and it's just this very thin, large wheel. There's no power steering, of course, but the car, especially the front end, is so light that there's no need for it. You almost never notice. The steering is almost light. It's kind of wild. Then you definitely notice like that neutral. You know, yes, it's very apparent what gear you're in, but it is a little vague and you just kind of like reach for where you think is the right spot and it goes there. The gates are super far apart though. There's no dead pedal for your left foot, so you're kind of left just hanging on. Don't want to give too much revs down low. They don't like to be lugged, so we'll just kind of ease into that throttle. You can see our gas gauge bouncing around just a little bit from that level sensor. Always a good idea to know how much fuel you have in these cars. The odd thing about the 356 is just how usable it is. Like, it feels very normal to drive this. It's surprisingly easy in most circumstances. Now, I don't think I would take this out on a highway on any long jaunt. If I had to go a few exits, I would have no problem with it, just kind of cruising along a little bit slow. But, you know, there's something very odd about this, that it's fun to drive even in traffic. Like, I can't say that for all 911s. Even some air cooler 911s are like not that enjoyable to drive in these circumstances. But yet, this, I just feel so happy putting around town. Gearbox feels fantastic too. There's no crunches. It is odd though, because if you're used to like any modern manuals, you're used to like a nice, like, kathunky gate. Like these, you feel it, but if you do it right, if you really hit it perfectly, it almost feels like nothing. It just kind of is there, and then you know enough that, well, it can't go any further, so that's where it's gonna be. This might be my favorite slow car fast. But you gotta be careful, because like you don't want to get hit in this thing. You get hit in this thing, you're basically on a motorcycle. Fourth gear's a bit long. Not really much of a reason to use it unless we're just showing it off, saying, hey, it works, but I'm not on the highway. I want to keep those revs up just a little bit. You can tell when these engines bog down, they're not happy. It's very apparent. God, I love just kind of avoiding potholes in this car. I know you're probably looking at these roads going, oh, this is terrible, but it gives you something to do. And it's pretty fun to just kind of toss the car around a little bit, because it is a good handling car. It's just fun when you feel like how flexible these chassis are. You go to reach and you're like, oh, I gotta go a lot further. Well, maybe we'll go up that way and we'll come back. Let's do that. Those trucks feel mighty big next to this. The other thing about this is it's got ground clearance. Short little wheelbase, so even if you have to hop over something steep, it does a pretty good job of it. Turning radius, it's okay. You'd almost think it would be better for such a little car. Nice thing about having the top down though is you can hear everything reverberate off the sides. So you can hear the little clickety clack of the cams. I don't know if he loves it or hates it. We'll assume he loves it. Such a happy little motor. I'm not gonna go crazy. There's a lot of people walking around here, and imagine that story. I got hit by a 356A Speedster. Am I heavy enough? I hope I'm heavy enough to set off the light. There we go. I've got to say, I wasn't always somebody who fully understood the Speedster vibe until I drove one. And then once I drove that old 57, that unrestored car, that car just really changed my opinion on these a lot. And I realized, I'm like, this is just so enjoyable. It's so entertaining. And it's unbelievable how visceral and fun it can be at low speeds. What could be better? And you know what? They're pretty dead reliable. They're really simple. It's a little 4-cylinder air cooler. And as long as you've got a shop that's tuned it up nicely, you've got loads of fun ahead of you without any concerns. When you drive an old Jag, for instance, you're worried about water. I mean, actually, when you drive any old car, you're like staring at the water temperature constantly to make sure, oh, is it gonna overheat? Like, these just don't. It's a tractor. Andy Pruniger has one of those. Happy car wide open too. I mean, that's what's great about this. You can really thrash it a little bit and it'll take it. And there's something about this car. Everybody loves a Speedster. Everybody looks, everybody waves and smiles because it's fun. Listen to this horn. Isn't that, I mean, it's so charming. So guys, that's what it's like to drive a nicely restored 356A Speedster. Thank you so much to the Bond Group here in Waltham, Massachusetts for the opportunity to drive this little guy. And yeah, if you're looking for one, it's here, it's for sale. So come drive it, come buy it, because honestly, this is the perfect little summer car. And thank you so much to the Patreon supporters who make this channel possible. Of course, don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh my. Thanks, yeah. It's a camera, and I got microphones in my ears. We're doing a little video.